It's a pretty cool Monday here. Paul Sinopiatis, Strathclyde Engraving. Hope everybody is doing really, really well. This is proven to be a pretty productive day so far. And those are the kind of days that I like. I'm one of those that believes that everybody, wants to feel like they're useful, that they have a purpose. And without that, sometimes we kind of get lost. But enough of the esoteric nonsense. How's things going? Hope everybody is doing really well. I'm doing super. We've kind of gotten back together again, video-wise here, for this piece that I'm currently working on. Last time that we talked, I had begun to do my line work, and you'll have to forgive me, folks. The line work did take a little bit longer than expected. In the first video, I talked about the alloying on the brass in this piece being a little bit different, and as such, it has forced me to really slow down. In areas where I wouldn't normally have to slow down. I would just be able to, zing right through it and there'd be no issues. But the reason that it's caused a bit of a slowdown is because of the difference in the hardness of the two metals. Now, brass can be alloyed to be really soft. In fact, the practice plates that I have, in fact, let me see if I can reach around in here and find a piece of brass. Anyway, I have both brass and copper. Here's the brass. I'll just pull a big sheet out of it for you. There it is right there. This is referred to as dead soft brass. I also have like little practice plates for my stainless steel. The brass on that piece cuts just like a penny would. It's that soft. Well, the brass here is actually it's a good bit harder, and it has created a bit of a slowdown in the work for me, simply because of the fact that as my graver rides across it, especially a V graver, when you hit the harder metal, the graver doesn't want to stay at the depth that it normally cuts at. It wants to ride higher and then dive back down. So I have to be careful with each of those cuts. Sometimes I had to go back over them as many as 2 times to make sure that I was getting what I wanted on those cuts. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually at the metal removal stage, and of course this will take a little bit longer than normal. With most of the Celtic knot pieces that I've done, I've tried to do it in such a way that the piece appears to have been cut from stone. So instead of matting my background, I was texturing them, and that's a viable, it's a viable engraving style. If you're trying to achieve a certain look, then you want to do things that are going to achieve that look in terms of technique, and that's how I chose to do it. Now, I'm sure there's countless background technique styles. I mean, there's like tons of ways that it could be done, but everybody has what works best for them. Now, traditionally, and I use that word as if I know a lot about it, but I can't sit here and tell you that I'm the all-knowing grand poobah of engraving. I can only tell you what I've seen and what I've experienced. In most cases, when engraving is done, the background of that piece is actually matted. And what I mean by that is that the background area will be cut away, and everybody has their own way of, method of doing that. Done more often than not with a 105-degree graver. But the idea behind it is to create a flat background surface, and then once that background is made flat, and this is done with the with a graver, of course. We're talking about engraving. Then that background is then stippled. So basically what they're doing is they're using a small carbide point and putting it in one of these collets, the little black piece that you see here that I've got my finger on right here, and then they'll adjust the strokes per minute on their power assisted graver. In my case, it's the DRS Graver Mach 8T. And this is used by many, many, many professionals. But then they'll stipple the background, make little indentations in it. This holds a lot more enamel, okay? A ton more enamel. So what I thought I would do is to do a piece with the matte background. And this was as much for the chance to be able to do it finally, but also, and more importantly, it goes more along. It walks more hand in hand with the design that I have, the design that I want to achieve here. So that's basically what I'm doing. Now, in previous videos, when I have been doing background removal, you've seen me using a high-speed metal removal tool, basically a ball burr, air-driven handpiece that uses a small ball burr to go back in and cut the metal out. Now, what I'm using this time is a flat graver. Instead of using a 105-degree graver, I don't like the effect that I achieve with that. As you cut, you're going to create these little plow lines. That's where the very bottom of the graver, that's at its complete maximum depth kind of thing. Well, these will, when you're matting your background, you want that stuff to be gone, because there's only so much that I think you can cover up with stippling before it really starts showing that there's like a difference in the height of the metal, or something there that's not quite as you would want it to be. Wait a sec, I need to move this. I know I seem like I'm talking in riddles here, but I guess what I'm trying to express is that there's a look here that I'm trying to achieve, and using this flat graver, I think I'm going to come closer to achieving that look. Now, honestly, this is a little bit more work. In fact, I'm going to have more work in this than the price I quoted my client, but because I quoted him a specific price, I'm sticking with that price. I would rather have him say thank you, sir, with a smile on his face and love my work than say, yeah, he told me it was going to be this much and then he had to charge me this much more. That's just a story you don't, that's bad press. And if it means I got to eat a little bit, guess what? I'm going to eat a little bit. Because I'm not afraid to. There we go. So that's what I'm doing right now. We're doing the metal removal. In such a way that I can go back and mat this background and it look really, really nice. That's my goal. That's how I want it to be. We're kind of swapping back and forth between different gravers here. We're not using carbides today. These are Glen steel gravers. All of my I've got 2 carbide flats, but for my intents and purposes, the Glen steel is going to work really, really well. This is a number 38 flat, and my flats range in width from 37 through 40, and then I've got even a smaller one if I need it. Let me see. This is a 51. This is really, really tiny. You know, it really depends on, you know, what I'm trying to achieve while I'm doing this. So this does take a little bit longer. With a high-speed metal removal tool, I can just zip through this portion of it without having to really worry about too awful much. I mean, it'll go pretty quickly. But there's also, you know, certain other things that go with it as far as the metal removal that you've really got to pay close attention to. When you're doing this with a flat graver, paying real close attention to your design is very, very, very important, because a flat graver doesn't control as well as a V-shaped graver does when you're cutting a line. Flat gravers are used a lot in lettering, surprisingly. Coming back into a corner there, you know, trying to get things shaped, and you really kind of got to be careful. So you see me like the spotty talking kind of thing. That's because I'm concentrating on what I'm doing. But yeah, this is how the metal is going to be removed, you know, throughout the rest of the piece. There's a lot of metal that has to be removed here. A good bit of metal. And it's going to take a bit, you know, it's going to take some time to get it done. But with time and perseverance, this too will pass, and we'll be able to go on to bigger and better things. Using a flat graver, for me, is actually, it's not that difficult. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that it's the toughest thing in the world to do. It's not. Let me see. No, I had it right. It's not the toughest thing in the world to do, but it does take some time to learn how to get your lines even and such. Minor variations don't make that much of a difference, considering you're going to go back and stipple it, but still yet, something you want to be careful of. You want to take your time with. You don't want to rush through, because anything rushed, guess what, folks, looks rushed. Now, another thing you'll notice as I'm doing this is that you're going to hear a change in the sound that the graver makes. And that is because I'm operating at a much lower stroke SPM, stroke per minute. I find that when I have my Engraver Mach AT turned up, to the setting that I normally work at, I tell you what, as soon as you hit that brass, it pops up and the graver loads up. Man. And I'm not even at a steep cutting angle. Let's try that again. There we go. Well, I'll tell you what, it's a little tighter than I want. It's a tight fit, and I don't like that. I need to be able to remove some of that metal first. So we're going to step back up to a larger size here, and hopefully we can remove some of this excess metal that's in the way. Of course, this thing's going to take a bite compared to that smaller. Come back in with that smaller graver and clean that line up. So as you can see, this is a lot more time consuming, a lot more tedious. A little bit because I want to be able to see that line clearer. That's much better. I use the edge of this flat. Up to a point. I can't go into a corner with it. But I use it to help me clean up that area. And get in here on the other side. Alright, let's get back at it. I'm going to start from down here. And so I'm not really loading that graver up. I'm just going to take just a little bit at a time. And the curve, see how the graver just kind of, it rode up? That tells me immediately that line is not at depth. So why use a flat graver? Well, because it's flat. This allows me to make the cuts that I need to cut and not have to worry about leaving a line where the bottom of the graver has cut, at depth. This leaves me a relatively flat surface, okay? Is it going to be perfectly flat? Probably not. Because it actually is going to be stippled. But being that it's going to be stippled, man, I left a lot of material back here. Wow. That depth won't make that much of a difference, especially if it's just a small depth. There we go, now that's better. Getting to where we need to be. There we go. Alright, now come back in over on this side. I need to give this a bit of a focus. There we go. Using slower strokes per minute, I find it allows that graver to grab hold a little bit better. Start doing some cross cuts now. This is what the metal removal is basically going to be the whole time. A lot of me not talking. And a lot of me focusing on what I'm doing. But this whole piece, the metal will have to be removed in this manner. Now, once you get to a certain area, like where I am, and I'm doing a quick cross cut, boom, 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 it makes it a lot easier. Drawing those long cuts that I do, it does take a little bit more time. Alright. Now we'll come back down that wall. Along this side and straighten up that line. I got that one little bit. I need to roll this piece. I'm looking for any like major variations in the lines. I'm looking for, okay, this one is obviously a deeper cut. I'm just trying to surface it nicely, so I'm not going to have any issues with that. Now, as far as going back and getting the edge of that line correct, I'm going to swap back to a number 37, which is smaller. And I'm going to come up from the outside. Along the edge of this cut. And use the straight edge on this graver to clean the edge of my line up real nicely. And then you can use the smaller graver if you need. To get in and clean up those corners. Just a little bit right there in the edge, and it's being a real pain. There we go, nice tight corner. And that's basically what I'm going to be doing over the next few days. And yeah, it's going to be that long. It's going to be a few days. There's no way that you can just hum your way through this stuff. It takes time, it takes patience. It takes a steady hand. And your head's got to be in it. All right, that'll work on that. I probably need to go back and do that corner the same, but don't really have the oomph to do that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and come back down here and get this piece and continue to work across in the order that I've set for myself. This is probably going to be the most time-consuming portion of the piece. It's also the portion of the piece that can be the most harrowing, and I say that in light of, this is where being very familiar with your design comes in very handy. Because the fact that, well, let's face it, if you don't know where you're cutting, you can cook off a design very, very quickly. If you don't watch where you're cutting, you can cook your design off. You can have literally hours in on the piece, and one flipping mistake can cost you the entire piece. I don't like thinking about that kind of stuff. So I'm just gonna leaves me some room over there. I'm going to come back. Give myself a nice little edge cut there. Last part of that line did not cut at depth. There we go. I'll have to come back around and clean some of that up anyway, so. Alright. Felt that right about here. And that's as soon. There we go, it bumped up again. That's as soon as I hit that brass thing. Nice couple of lines there. So now I'm going to go on ahead and start my problem cutting. And you can do a little bit of hand push too, if you want. But when it comes to that, like cutting that big piece, oh man, I don't even want to imagine that hand push. Hammer and chisel, maybe. That's one of the cool things about using power assist. There's a lot of traditional folks out there who don't like the hand assisted stuff. And you know what? I can understand. But it's just like anything. If there's a tool out there, as a vape, you know, somebody who vapes and somebody who builds his own coils. If I see a tool on the market that will help me build a better and more even coil, then I'm going to take a look at that tool. Oh, we started wrapping it on drills and screwdrivers. Good for you. Thank you for blazing the path. But that does not mean that I have to follow in your footsteps. If I can find something to build a coil better, I'm going to. Same goes for engraving. If the technology is there, I will avail myself of it. Moving through this area pretty quickly. Okay, I can see some metal there and there that need to come up right now. You can see the uneven spots. That's pretty quickly. And if you get over the top of them and you've got your graver flat, your graver's usually pretty good about figuring out, oops, this ain't even. Not looking for the mirror finish by any means, but at least something that's, you know, relatively even across the bottom. That will allow me to mat it. Matting tool. The matting tool is the same thing. I'm going to be using a hammer handpiece, a pneumatic handpiece, and using a collet, which is one of these little dillies, and a carbide setting point. So when you put the two together, you come up with a little job like this. Okay? There's the carbide setting point, set back first, seated all the way to the back of the collet, and the collet will go into my handpiece. And now notice, it's not going to be done this way. I'll be having my hands vertical or in line with the piece. And what this is going to do is it's just going to be, you know, tapping the top of the piece like that and leaving small indentations. You do this at a high speed and you do it in circles. Kind of like you'd be doing a tattoo, I guess you could say. You'd be doing it in circles and swirls. And the whole idea is to get the back of that piece evenly matted using that technique. And it's not that hard to do. It takes a little bit of time, but as long as you're moving slowly and you're watching what you're doing, you shouldn't really have too much issue. All right, we're going to continue. Pulling metal out of back here. Super. All right, then we got this one little chunk right back here, and this area will be done. I'm liking it. Right back here at the back. There we go. And of course, this area is actually hidden by the mod. But even though it's hidden, still going to do, you still want to do a good job on it. It's easy to say, hey, that's going to be hidden by the mod. The mod will cover a multitude of sins. No, bull. Do it right or don't do it. Because people are paying for it, hard-earned money. And they deserve a quality product. All right, that'll take care of that. Done and done on that spot. Let me take a quick look here. That will mat quite well. This is going to be a phenomenal piece. This will definitely be a phenomenal piece. Once all of the metal removal is done, oh man. Alright, we've got an area that kind of goes down into small area, so I'm going to actually have to switch back to a smaller graver. The distance between your functional design elements dictates the size of the graver that you're going to use. So naturally you want to use something that's going to fit in the area without a whole lot of, I might be able to get the bigger one in here. If I can, it'll save me some time. I can always turn around. Oh yeah, lots of room to spare. Just kind of tailor that off right there. I'm going to go in and cut this other little bitty piece. Get it done. And then I can come back in and cut the larger recesses now. Just a quick rotation of the piece, move on. something that I did not do that I need to do right now. I have to go back in and clean that corner up a little bit. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. Alright, that takes care of that. That was the thing that I forgot. Now we'll get back to moving along with the graver. Alright, get back over here. Yeah, this is where I was. I brought it to a stop. Oh yay, more spam mail. Alrighty folks, sorry for not being as verbose this time. But I just wanted to give you guys an initial look at my background metal removal technique in preparation for the matting that we're going to do on the background of the piece. There will be some line shading done. That is going to be done specifically on the lettering in the center of my functional design elements, excluding my lettering. What we're going to be doing is I'm actually going to mess with the lines a little bit. Instead of doing the traditional Celtic knot shading, actually going to be doing some patterning and some additional bright cutting, some decorative cuts that I don't normally do, just to create a very stunning and interesting piece for Mr. Schumann-Zaman. But anyway, folks, thank you so very much for watching. Appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and if you hit the notification button at the top of the page, hit the little bell. It will ding every time I put a video up. And I so much enjoy having you guys come by. I like seeing the views go up. It is so encouraging to me to see that. I'm not looking to make I don't see myself making money on YouTube, folks. I'm going to be very, very honest with you. I don't see it ever happening. But I'm doing it for my customers as well as, people who are at the same stage I am in terms of engraving and want to see how somebody who's at, their same skill level is coming along, or somebody who's just above their skill level so that they can be encouraged. Having people watch my videos after I put them up is one of the most encouraging things that you guys can do for me. Adding a like, that's even more so. Subscribing, that's a huge compliment. It's a very humbling compliment for me. But I will continue to post videos on this piece as it is done. So I'm going to bring this video to a close. Paulson Piata, Strathclyde Engraving, signing off. And guys, thank you so very much for watching and for your support of my craft. Take care, all.